Good morning. You listen to FloorDaily.net, and I'm Kemp Parr. This morning, my guest is Hector Narvaez, the Executive Vice President with the Iris Group, which uses the Stonepeak brand in the United States. Hector, how you doing?
Good morning, Kemp. I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
I was just with you last week. We were in Washington, D.C. at the Flooring Sustainability Summit. We'll get to that in just a minute. Most people know that the Iris Group is a family-owned company, and Federica, the lady who runs it, is the daughter of the founder. And you have two manufacturing locations. You have manufacturing in Italy and in Crossville, Tennessee, and your headquarters in the U.S. is in Chicago.
That is correct. Actually, we also have one more site, which is in Germany.
All right. Before we get into the summit, tell us how's business.
Well, Kemp, it's just a little bit over half of the year. We're doing relatively well, and we're also very optimistic because the pipeline is pretty full. The whole team is pulling together to deliver on our budget and our goals for this year.
I should add that you've been in the tile business most of your life, starting out with Marazzi and then going over to Dale Tile and then coming this way. So been doing this most of your life. Let's talk about this summit. It was the third year in D.C., and you guys were actually a sponsor of it. And it's hosted by all the flooring, surface, trade associations, the, carpet, CRI, the tile, TCNA, the resilient, RFCI, the hardwood, NWFA, and the laminate, NALFA. So all the flooring types are there. Not that many sponsors, though, and I got to hand it to you. You guys have supported this thing for 3 years, right?
That is exactly right, Kemp. And actually, I'll just go back a little bit. This summit really has been kicked off and led off by the TCNA, which is the Tile Council of North America. And when we had our initial executive meetings throwing the idea around about what if we were to have a leadership position on this type of flooring sustainability summit, Stonepeak raised its hand right away and said, we're in favor. And as you said, we've been sponsor for 3 years now at different levels in different parts of the convention because we really believe in sustainability. And the Iris Ceramica Group is not just a buzzword. It's not just, greenwashing and something that sounds cool or fashionable. And I'll even tell you a story. Back in 1961, our founder, Mr. Romano Minozzi, he was already professing that economy equals ecology, to the point that in Bologna, Italy, and you've been there at the square, he organized a demonstration, documented in pictures, where, in the square of Bologna, he, again, was professing that we have to watch out, that economic growth needs to be balanced with our environmental responsibility. This is back in the 1960s, in the middle of Italy, where you can just imagine it was not a very popular movement. But this just goes to show that truly sustainability is in our DNA, and it's not, a buzzword or something cool this year that we want to be, part of. So that's why, since the inception of the thoughts of having this Flooring Sustainability Summit, Stonepeak was leading. And we have been there every year, and we look forward to the following year.
Sounds like he's kind of the Ray Anderson of the tile business, and he was way ahead of his time, wasn't he?
That is exactly right in many ways, not just in sustainability. And I know that's what the subject that we're talking about, but in many other ways, for sure, Mr. Minozzi, has been a true leader in bringing slabs to market, bringing the first porcelain tiles to market, and other technological advances. But as far as sustainability, we continue to go every year because really for our company and also for myself in particular, I really like that in a compact agenda, you can bring in basically the designers, architects, manufacturers, contractors as well, community, that in a very short time and also through the networking sessions, you're able to get a lot. I get a lot myself of what is going on through all of the stakeholders' minds when the word sustainability happens. As a manufacturer, obviously we're out there running and chasing, to try to get either certificates or declarations or just, be friendlier to the environment in our production process and products. But it's important for me and for our company to hear, well, what's the perspective from a designer, from an architect, from the contractors that are installing it? I get a lot personally from, the networking sessions and from the wonderful speeches that are conducted, from the keynote speakers to the panelists. Really, it's an amazing way in a very short time, to pick up on what is happening.
To ante up in the sustainability subject. You have to have these EPDs and these HPDs, which is expensive to get, all these certifications that prove that you are doing less harm on the planet as you create your product. I mean, that's something you've done this year, right?
We always do. So some come up for renewal and some are brand new. So at the end of 2025, we did obtain our first HPD certification for products produced at a Crossville facility. But also very important, we received the ISO 14064-1, which is the Organizational Carbon Footprint Validation. We are one of the only U.S. flooring factories to have this ISO certification. And what it is a comprehensive validation of manufacturing process, and it does provide verified measurement, reporting, and verification of greenhouse gas emissions across all of the operations of our manufacturing facility. We're very proud of that and many others. You know, one of the things I learned is that there's over 600 eco-labels is what they said. Some of the speakers, can't remember who said that, but obviously we can't chase all of them. We try to chase the ones that are significant for us and meaningful for our audience. And as you know, we do quite an amount of business in the specification market. So it's important to us to go and chase and accomplish these declarations and the ISO validation that is important for our community of customers.
It sounds like you're ahead of the curve. You say it's only one other company has this ISO carbon footprint validation. That is really interesting. And that's all flooring, not just tile, right?
That is correct. That would be across all the flooring manufacturers.
So this year, just quick summary, I know it had a little bit more people. It's gathering steam every year, isn't it?
It does. I like how Bill Greasy, by the way, who does a fantastic job in leading this charge, how he's able to change it around from year to year, making it a little bit different and interesting. But to your point, a lot of wonderful speakers. I've had a lot of notes and a lot of takeaways and quotes from people like George Brandy, people like, Kirk Roberts, William Paddock, Paul Shariari, Cheryl Durst, and many more, because I think they do a fantastic job in delivering for the audience.
All right, Hector. Well, I appreciate you spending time with me and my listeners to help me summarize this meeting. Again, been talking to Hector Narvaez about the Flooring Sustainability Summit held last week in D.C., and you've been listening to Kempar and FloorDaily.net.